Hey, Soul Tribe. I'm KamalaDevi, and this is my cat Kabuki. and we're here enjoying the winter. I just came back from Costa Rica, and I wanted to share with you some of the harvest of this really deep soul experiment and adventure. And it's a really powerful time for me because as I come back home, I'm grounding in, wrapping up the year, starting to vision the new year, and just reflecting. You know, I think my next letter to you, my next newsletter will be the highs and lows of the year, as is my habit now for many years, maybe 20 years of like really recapping. And something extraordinary happened in this last 10-day intensive. Now, for those of you who may already know, I'm a lead faculty for the International School of Temple Arts. So I've been doing these retreats and trainings around the world. We have like 3 different levels, and it's a really rich transmission, initiatory transmission. And there's a movement, like a grounding that's happening for temples. We have a sister school, mystery school in New Zealand, which is really deepening into more intentional living and what it looks like to be in a conscious community. And that mystery school holds a lot of really high vibration esoterics. And there's a core in that cosmology that is activating various codes around the planet. And that includes this experiment in the Americas for the first time, because obviously I mentioned it's in New Zealand, it's also in Greece, it's various places, like meaning we have temples that are landing and forming and exploring. And for the first time, we brought it to the Americas on Tierra More, which is a new, property and vision in Costa Rica by the landholders and the stewards, and the visionaries there are really attuned with, the teachings of Haydn. And so myself and Attila and Lisa, and I had a wonderful team, to bring these teachings to the Americas. And it was a gathering of, there was 30 souls who were really committed to, it's almost like a transcending, the individual self and coming into the group heart. And this is what I want to talk about today, because, often people's introduction to the work I do is either in sex or polyamory, or, it has a lot to do with the erotic current, the life force energy. And this work also, is very sex positive and is important to tap into that erotic current. And it's to run that current all the way into the ecstatic realms, into the invisible realms. And I had just this huge upgrade. And although it's hard for me to articulate the ineffable, it's important for me to continue to keep, practicing and trying and sharing. So there, through the various ceremonies that we wove and spontaneously downloaded, there was a deep, like, hollowing out in my being. And I think in the concept and in the mind, we can all agree that we're all one, that there's, like how important, when we look at the zero sum, like the importance of us being in the win-win mentality, that we're all in it together, and that there really is no like peace on earth if we're still in the fragmented like separation of this is my state and your state and it's separate. So conceptually, we get this, we know this, but to actually have that downloaded to where there's the deep merging experience of being with a group of souls where we open to the group soul and we have that experience of like, if you're having challenge or competition or trouble, or that's also happening in me. And to see it obviously in group is, it's easier in some ways than to see it in the dyadic relationship. Because when, I'm with my beloved, Michael of 20 years, we often have our patterns and we know each other's personalities. And I might think, oh, it's he said, they said, like we're in a polarization, and it's polarization of perspectives. But there is a way in love, even in dyadic relationships, to melt into if my beloved's having a challenge, that's my challenge too. Like it is everything that I see in another is not just a reflection for some hidden part of me, but it is mine, it's ours. So through this practice of challenges coming up and being kind of digested and transmuted from the whole, there's a deeper sense of like the problems in the world that we're facing, we not only co-created, but we can only solve if we solve it from our problems. And how do we take more responsibility? And this ecstatic experience of merging, not just with a community that you trust, but like a real oceanic merging with the heart of humanity, merging with the darkness of the world that we've co-created, and also the lightness and the beauty and the majesty, and to be in the wholeness of that, and to have the experience of like tasting that and sustaining that only to the degree that we can let go of the separate self. There's again, hollowing out, a surrendering, a letting go, a releasing of the individual egoic, not just attachments and identities, but like what's in it for me, that individual agenda, which can be so primal, like the animal just might slip into it unconsciously. And that idea of like, oh yeah, everyone has that, and then actually meeting in that, like, oh yeah, but what's in it for me is part of the whole. Like my personal agendas are important to the whole and equally important as another's personal agendas. So the only way to get through those agendas is to look at our agendas and to really look at how do we take care of self responsibly and also then overflow to others, needs and desires, and then co-create from that place of like we're taking care of ourselves and the greater self, the bigger, body that is here. And it's so profound because, you can have this like this hit of it or this glimpse of it, but to live in it and to breathe in it and to work in that way, and then to say, this is the way we need to work in a new culture. This is the way, there's a way in which we can't just do that in a retreat setting or in a, like, oh, we're doing just a weekend workshop. It's like, no, this is a laboratory for life. How do we take this into our life? How do we take this into our jobs? How do we take this into our politics and into our social economic, agreement field, and just really lit up with what's possible there at the greater, the bigger picture, the big picture of our future and the crises that we have on the horizon, which we can only get through if we let go of that personal agenda and look at how humanity wants to work, through us. And it's not just, it's how love works through humanity, and love connects us where we dissolve that difference and that separation. So I'm pretty lit up, and I'm so touched to be able to like just share this, because I know there's resonance in your heart. Like these deep truths are things that we've all touched into, and how do we live into them more? This is really this question of like having a temple experience. How do we make our whole lives like, templing, and what does that mean to like pioneer temple culture in the Americas, particular flavor of a space that has a lot of separation, a lot of polarization, a lot of colonization, and what's possible here from these roots. Thank you for listening, and I'm sending so much love and union through your holiday season, really from my heart to yours, like want the sense of connection and family and uh, everything good that comes from the holidays when we can, transcend the consumerism and the separation and the stress. I want you to have a blessed end of the year until our next connection. Mm.